talk about Joe Allen. I think a lot of Premier League clubs have stood up and thought, wow, what a deal, what a coup for Stoke City. Is that the way you see it as well?
I'm not sure I see it quite that way because we're a good club and we've got a fantastic squad of players. We've got real quality in the squad, and Joe sees that. Joe sees the quality that we've got in the squad. Obviously, he's moving from a bigger club. Yeah, Liverpool are a bigger club than Stoke City, and so that's always heartening when a top player. This is a player, of course, who was named in the team at the tournament at the Euros. So as recently as the last month or so. So he's a player who you could argue is absolutely at his peak again. Got the best years in front of him as well. So we've got Joe for the next 5 years, and again, like Marco, talking to Joe, he's very excited about what he sees in our squad, the way that Mark's got the team playing, the way the training is, the whole thing. So Joe's a very exciting capture for us.
And as you mentioned earlier, that deal you got over the line in a matter of days, didn't you?
Yes, it's one, as I say, when we became aware that there was a real possibility of doing that, we moved as quickly as we can. And to be honest with you, we always try to move as quickly as we can, but circumstances and the mind of other clubs, if you like, and the player sometimes doesn't allow that because there's three elements to every deal, the two clubs and the player. And whilst one of those three parties might be ready to move immediately, the other two might not. So in the case of Joe, we were ready to move, Liverpool were ready to sell, and the player, when he became aware that we were speaking to Liverpool, expressed his desire to come as well.
Did the Welsh connection help with Mark Hughes, Mark Bowen and Eddie Niedzwiecki as well? Is that a factor when you're talking to their fellow countrymen?
You'd have to ask Joe that question. I mean, I'm talking about the Welsh invasion, so it's... but no, the fact that when Joe was a young lad, Mark was the manager of the Welsh team, obviously one of the Wales' best ever players. So it's got to come into your decision making as a player, I think.
Let's talk about Ramadan then, an unknown quantity to a lot of people in England. What's he going to bring to the Premier League, do you feel?
Well, he's got undoubted talent. Anyone, and I'm sure a lot of our supporters have had a look on YouTube at his various clips. You can see what talent he's got. But he's got more than the tricks. He's a player who's represented Egypt now, who are an international team in the top 50 in the world. He's represented them since he was 18. So the only games he's missed through injuries or through exams, which says something about his age. So he's got undoubted quality and undoubted potential. The only note of caution that I would put is that he's a 19-year-old coming from another country. So I think we need to be careful that we don't expect too much too soon. But there is an excitement there as well.
So the natural supporters will always look at a club during the course of a pre-season. They'll see players coming in and naturally assume that players will be moving out. What would be your response to that?
Well, you do always have to balance the squad, and often that's done by natural movements, if you like. But as you bring players in, players who are in the squad at the moment might be looking at that situation and thinking, well, where do I fit going forward? So, we'll see over the next week to 10 days what happens there.
Presumably the spending doesn't end here. Can you give us any update on any other targets that you might have in mind? Don't want you to name names, but is anything imminent or close?
I honestly don't know the answer to that question, and the reason I don't know the answer to the question is that you could be 90% of the way through a deal and you don't know when you're going to be able to finish the last 10%. So no, we're not finished. There is one or two things that we would still like to do if the opportunity is there. So if it's there and when it's there, none of us can say at the moment. But we're working very hard to do a bit more.